After making love, Peter and Angelina rested in the straw bed, blanketed by the cozy warmth of the hayloft, lying snug like birds in a nest. The scent of wood smoke hovered as the spirit of autumn and that smoky specter rose, haze-like, to the barn's cathedral ceiling, its presence made visible by the sun's rays, an effect betokening the miraculous. Embracing, the pair fell in and out of sleep, serenaded by the soothing sounds of bird calls and by the far-off voices of children laughing. After slowly waking and relaxing, the lovers left the barn by the back way, drifting into the mist of the meadow, walking lazily, as if grown plump and heavy, sweet and ripe from love's mellow harvest. They looked back at the barn, feeling ever contained within its now sacred walls, the whole structure having been anointed and made holy by the prayer they had shared within. The bees buzzed amongst the weed flowers in their dance of love as Peter and Angelina walked alongside a crumbling stone fence, what was once the proud boundary between two farms. Purple loosestrife and Queen Anne's lace decorated and trimmed the pumpkin patches. They walked the abandoned farmland that was now covered with secondary growth, nature having again reclaimed her own. As the afternoon came to this quiet time of strolling, thoughts whirled around inside Angelina's head, voices that were calling out to tell Peter that all was now right with the world. But she stayed quiet, as in a church, in order to leave love's grandeur undisturbed, and instead surrendered herself to the sensual feeling of the wind lifting her hair. The couple, walking hand in hand, were made weightless by their smiles as they followed the old trail through the forest toward the old farmer's homestead. Some leaves were already falling, and this surprised them at first with their ghostly touch, an invisible force nudging them on, inexorably, toward the winter of old age. The child within Angelina was bursting, uncontainably eager, with secrets that begged to be unveiled. The opening seemed to come when Peter looked into her eyes with a gaze that was love calling out from within. But she spoke only to herself as she surveyed the love scene and thought, knowing this as a woman, I feel the nurturing love, as it is parallel with the distances of walking. And though realizing that the walk may end, I still know that this feeling of love is a beginning of true love, a fine start, for Peter is sincere. As for passions, well, my emotions are bubbling over like a stream made into a river, ready to flow silently and serenely among and over the smooth and rounded rocks of nature's being. I smile as the rose in my heart blooms in this second spring of middle age. My soul the wind, my spirit energizing me as a woman who chooses to grant the gift of herself to him in a time of sharing in a relationship. That, for once, seems to be going really well from the start. In Peter, too, the silence was deepening in reverence, for he too wanted to talk. But each walking step that had remained quiet had brought them closer to each other, and so this was merging of them as one in the solitude of the forest. Angelina the artist was drawing in her mind the picture of a heart blossoming in love, and Peter the poet was chiming rhymes of love, rhythms and melodies that were now lent an extra meaning by their reality. He thought, what words can express this wonderful feeling? What translations from the speechless realm of emotion can be spirited from the soul to approximate, in the limited language of speech, the sweep of love across one's heartstrings? Their visions continued, pouring forth in positive images, thoughts attempting to create words from those shimmering images, wavering like mirages just out of sight, ideas developing from the negatives, emergent dreams that ever encouraged. But it was as if words were not required from two persons already on the same wavelength. as if their thoughts were already blending somehow, weaving in and out, and all around them, binding them love-bound and lifting their spirits onward, upward, inward and outward, until physical sensation had been quite washed away, there being left only to the spirit's song. All in all, thought Angelina, as she sensed Peter's thoughts, this was now the moment to share her emotional risk and tell him what he gave to her in this hour of love. But these pensings spoke only as a kiss, as they each, as if in fugal unison, stopped to let their souls meet on their lips. The magic of youth and midlife wisdom had merged and swept them toward each other with its circular current, a feedback circuit gone out of control. Peter saw in her a woman who was experiencing a love that was fresh and new and invigorating, and he felt a peaceful love, one without stress and strain, a love that was self-sustaining, a perpetual emotion that created its own energy. Angelina again felt the urge to talk, but the couple now had to circle back towards town and leave the investigation of the farmhouse for another day, for Peter really needed to return to work. Yet, the emanations of love's fair thoughts persisted and overspilled, a fragrance that was sweet, soft, and smiling on the air, a scented mist of well-being everywhere, containing them within its bubble. The fertile farm fields were ahead of them, filled with corn ripe for the harvest, a crop sowed only for the local families.
Angelina spoke at last and said, "Peter, you must know what I feel. I sense it. I've taken a walk in being young again with you as I've given my heart and body in unconditional love. I want to tell you now of my joy as I felt it as we walked through the meadow, of what I was bursting to tell you and paint for you as an artist, expressing with love's colors the scene rendered in emotion's hues. I know too that I wanted you to touch me then, when I served you cookies on the porch. Somehow I knew that we were meant for each other. I asked you to stay after you played cards so that we could become closer. I had these thoughts then, and they yet persist. I sensed and still feel a serenity made from deep pools of feelings that had to be shared with you. Peter, I am a very open woman and I hide nothing, for feelings that go unrelated are as good as lost. But I wanted to treasure the feelings of our love as we walked, to hold them for hours as a cloud undispersed until they could burst upon you with their fullness. Peter, we are new again, born again somehow, and we have been drenched with the joy of love's cloudburst that rains down upon us.
Angelina, said Peter, this afternoon was a poetic dream in which our love was shared honestly and purely, bursting, as you hinted at, like a grape of joy against a dry palate, as Keats said. And after our coupling, I nestled in your arms, hoping to remain there forever. For I felt peace and even more serenity as we slept. And then again during our silent walk as we fell even more for each other, when we let the washback of the waves have their wonderful way with us, undisturbed by our words. I've wanted and needed a woman like you, especially one of patience and understanding, for I have a job to attend to and some other responsibilities as well. Let's explore the old farmhouse tomorrow and have a picnic along the way. I want to know you and become involved with you beyond all repair. You are good, truly good, and loving and generous. I've searched a long while for this dream. It was hard to believe at first that a woman could be so kind and caring and still remain unmarried. But your mother told me that your first husband, well, that he
died of cancer. Peter, I only told you that he left me, an inapproximate generalization, so as not to sway the course of our love with it, you know, to give us more of a chance, though I can tell you that it was not an exciting marriage. Now all their thoughts poured forth and they spoke as one, their voices merging in a canon of chime, their music sweeping strong and ringing, like the bell to the knell, She sang what he thought and vice versa, in tune, in union, and parallel.